Now, as you all remember, back in February to March of 2021 is when the whole Gina Carano situation erupted and really caused Lucasfilm to really kind of get a very bad image based on how Kathleen Kennedy and even those over at Lucasfilm handled the firing of Gina Carano without giving her a proper email, phone call, or even a call into the office, and let it all leak on social media, mainly on Twitter, that really caused quite the stir-up ever since then. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that Gina Carano has, since been really talking about her experience about that whole entire scenario on and off, a couple months apart, we've also had Kathleen Kennedy and others over at Lucasfilm that were really kind of owning all of their, mistakes that weren't really all that genuine in order to kind of save their image. And ever since then, we've also had other actors coming out like Mark Hamill, Daisy Ridley, and others talking about the whole Gina situation since then. But lately, what's really interesting to me has a lot to do with what Jon Favreau had to say about the plan to rehire Gina Carano to bring Cara Dune back into the Mandoverse at large, since Mando Season 3 kind of explained why she has been excluded and how she was actually recruited by Special Forces and stuff like that. There's a lot more to tell about the character than what was told in, of course, Episode 1 of this season. Now, with that being all put out there, one thing that, of course, has been going around for the past couple of weeks now has a lot to do with Jon Favreau's work on Mandalorian Season 4 and the actual, revival of Rangers of the New Republic that's now being discussed between many different Disney executives out there. So, with Jon Favreau developing several Star Wars projects at once right now, he recently was able to talk more about the future of the franchise by Disney and everything related to rehiring Gina Carano and bringing back the character Cara Dune. Now, Jon went on to state the following: "This is something that we know is a very sensitive topic, and we are always very careful with what we say about Gina. But it has, yes, been in the cards, and we are working on a remedy to bringing not just her back, but also her character Cara Dune, that we know so many young women and children looked up to. It's our goal to keep well-written characters in the franchise, and we are having meetings about this every single week on how we can properly establish her being reinstated into this franchise. It's something I personally have not talked about that much, since it is something that we are still figuring out on, and I just wanted to keep fans in the loop that we are, yes, working on a remedy to make this work all around for the fandom. Additionally, it's in our best interest to keep things interesting with this franchise, not just with The Mandalorian, but other shows as well too." Now, I want to just stop here real quick about what Favreau is saying, is that basically what he's alluding to has a lot to do with what Disney recently actually established between not just the board members and, of course, the other people involved, like Bob Iger, the CEO, but we also have people like Kathleen Kennedy trying to intervene and really put an end to any potential of Gina Carano getting rehired. Now, we talked about how initially they had a fleshed out plan of getting Gina back for Mando Season 4. In fact, a lot of storyboards and concept art have already been completed for her return, but now what's happening is, behind closed doors, Disney is actually tossing around the idea of bringing her return for starters with the revival of Rangers of the New Republic, basically bringing that show back on the table with a brand new title to kind of bring Gina Carano's character back in action and having her own show as a whole. Now, that would of course, kind of sabotage any kind of plan for Mando Season 4 of what's being put out there right now, because basically what Disney wants to do is they want to find a good way to bring her back for starters. And from what it sounds like, they don't want to do both, which I think is a mistake. I think that you should actually have her as a cameo, as originally planned, for Mando 4 first, then bring her back in a full scale in Rangers. But I digress. Now, apart from all of this, alright, this gets a little bit more complicated about what Jon Dave, and of course the Disney executives are currently working on when it comes to the revival of Rangers of the New Republic, and a whole lot more on top of all of this. So, of course, aside from this, and what Favreau stated that he is alluding to is what's currently happening behind closed doors, where Disney is now in a standstill on what to do with Gina's return, as they are looking for ways to revive Rangers of the New Republic and giving her a big return first, instead of a small cameo in Mando Season 4 first, which would then, of course, delay Gina Carano's reappearance as Cara Dune further. Now, this is something that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to figure out every single day on what the right approach would be for Gina's return, and how exactly it should be done for the fans. Now, Gina right now is described to have a better interest in coming back for Rangers first, with a big entrance and having her own show, for starters, instead of just a cameo from Mando Season 4. Now, apart from this, we know that there's a lot of things happening with a special edition of The Mandalorian Season 2 that's set to release in 2024, that's going to involve deleted scenes for Cara Dune, talking with Luke, and stuff around those lines. We talked about this last week. This is something that is happening and will be unveiled next year. So basically, Disney's looking at that as an option of, instead of bringing Gina back in Mando 4 for starters, just use those deleted scenes for Mando Season 2 in the special edition, and then bring her back with newly shot scenes for the revival of Rangers of the New Republic, essentially. I'm not quite sure how I really feel about this, because this would not only, number one, delay Gina's return with newly shot footage, and number two, it would also exclude any of Gina's scenes from Mando Season 4 that Jon and Dave have been working so very hard on. And so I think what the real strategy should be is to have both projects feature her. Have her in Mando 4, and of course, the revival of Rangers. I don't care, if, they do that at the same exact time, or whichever order. I think it should be in both. So Disney, it seems, the executives, don't want to do both. That's what it sounds like. And Jon and Dave are trying to combat that and figure out what's too little and what's too much, and how they can really balance things out the right way. Now, I think that what's a great strategy on top of this too is that they should really just test things with Mando Season 4 first, and see how the fans overall react, first things first, before they go full out on an actual show dedicated to Cara Dune and characters like Luke, Han, Leia, and more. We know that Rangers originally was supposed to be a direct sequel to Return of the Jedi, taking place just days after the events of the Battle of Endor. Now, of course, we know that Kathleen Kennedy does not approve of this. Thankfully, she has no say in the matter about all of that, so that's pretty much, not even an issue. But everything related to Jon Favreau really breaking silence on this, I think, is a big deal. Just goes to show you how he likes to keep fans in the loop and really keep fans, very much involved in what's going on over at Disney. So anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.